You are sitting across from an interview panel. They ask you to define Scrum. If you reply with the exact textbook definitions, you immediately signal to the room that you lack practical experience. Our goal today is to move past passive theory. We are going to actively draft a personalized 10-question interview cheat sheet so you can answer these technical questions using your own real-world experience. Step 1. Open a blank digital document. Divide it into 10 blank sections. Then, pull up a mental list of the past Agile projects you have worked on. You will need those specific experiences to anchor your answers. Standard definitions fail because they only prove that you can memorize text. Interviewers want to know that you understand why Scrum operates the way it does. By building contextualized answers tied directly to your past work, you prove your competence to the panel before they even look at your resume. At the top of your document, pin this specific framework: what the concept is, why it matters, and how you applied it in a real-world scenario. Every answer we draft will follow this exact structure. Draft question 1. What is Scrum and how is it different from Agile? Look at this diagram distinguishing the two concepts. Agile is a mindset based on a set of flexible values outlined in the Agile Manifesto, the foundational document for modern software development. Scrum is the specific structural framework that puts those values into practice. Agile tells you what to value. Scrum tells you exactly how to work. Question 2 targets the 3 Scrum accountabilities. Write down the 3 required roles: Product Owner, Scrum Master, and Developers. Under those headings, note their specific operational boundaries. The Product Owner maximizes the value of the product and owns the backlog. The Scrum Master acts as a servant leader, focusing entirely on removing impediments that block the team. The developers actually build the releasable increment. By structuring your notes with the what, why, how method, you force yourself to anchor these abstract definitions to your tangible past performance. This structure builds immediate trust with the interviewer. For question 3, address the sprint. A sprint is a fixed-length event of 1 month or less. In your notes, write down the operational trade-off for sprint lengths. Shorter sprints secure faster feedback, while longer sprints allow time to deliver more complex technical work. Question 4 covers the ceremonies. This diagram maps the chronological flow of the 4 Scrum events. The cycle starts with sprint planning to align on the goal, followed by the daily Scrum to inspect progress. The sprint concludes with the sprint review and retrospective. Add a bold note to separate the final 2 events. The sprint review is strictly for inspecting the product itself with stakeholders. The sprint retrospective is for inspecting your team's internal process. Mixing these up is a common failure point in interviews. For question 7, clearly define the artifact boundaries. The product backlog is the overarching to-do list owned entirely by the product owner. The sprint backlog is the specific subset of work selected for the current sprint, and it is owned entirely by the developers. When you clearly articulate the rigid boundary between these artifacts and events, you demonstrate that you respect the team's autonomy and their need for time-boxed focus. Question 5 covers the definition of done. Document this as a mandatory shared quality standard. It is a formal checklist, like requiring all unit tests to pass, that the entire team agrees on before any work is considered complete. For question 8, look at this velocity bar chart displaying completed point averages across a 6-sprint timeline. Velocity is a measure of the amount of work a team completes during a sprint. Define it strictly as a historical forecasting tool to plan future sprints. Warning tone. Add a strict limitation to your notes here. Velocity cannot be used to measure performance or to compare 2 distinct teams. Story point estimates are entirely relative to the team making them. Accurately calling out the limitations of these metrics demonstrates a senior-level maturity. It separates seasoned Agile practitioners from junior candidates who treat data as a flawless target. Now, we tackle behavioral scenarios with question 6. What do you do when a product owner attempts to change priorities mid-sprint? Write down your exact steps. First, hold a conversation to understand the business urgency. If it becomes a pattern, facilitate a discussion on how constant changes damage the team's velocity and focus. For question 9, address what happens when a team fails to complete their sprint items. Your response strategy here must focus on performing a root cause analysis during the retrospective, rather than assigning blame. In your cheat sheet, explicitly list the potential failure points you would investigate. Note down overcommitment during planning, poor backlog refinement, or an increase in external interruptions. Formulate the answer to question 10 by identifying the defining traits of a great Scrum Master. Emphasize that because the role has no traditional management power, you must rely entirely on coaching and influence without authority. Connecting these behavioral answers reveals the exact truth interviewers are looking for. They want to see that you understand Scrum is a system for managing human dynamics and continuous learning, not a tool for rigidly enforcing rules. Step 3 is your final document review. Scan through all 10 of your drafted answers and align your terminology with the 2020 Scrum Guide updates. As you can see here, cross out the outdated term development team and replace it with the updated term developers. Next, verify 2 specific details. Check question 1 to ensure the Agile Manifesto is explicitly named. Then, check your notes on the sprint to ensure the sprint goal is framed as a strict commitment rather than a loose objective. Finally, read these 10 custom answers aloud. Practice delivering the what, the why, and the how until the structure is locked in. You are now armed with a personalized, context-rich cheat sheet. By relying on specific examples instead of textbook definitions, you can walk into your interview and replace your anxiety with authoritative, evidence-backed confidence.